Hello and welcome to this video for Mars's transit through Anuradha Nakshatra, which starts on the 19th of January and will continue through to the 9th of February 2018. Now, this is going to take us through the lunar eclipse at the end of the month to about a week before the solar eclipse. And this is an important part of the process. So in association with this, we need to go into the concept of being your own best friend, in contrast to being somebody else's friend or everybody else's friend. In short, how aligning with what is important to you can place you in positions where you're coming into conflict with what is important to somebody else. And how you go through that process, and how you shed the skin and get rid of all the layers in your life of all those things that aren't working for you, and begin to structure your life in a manner that is much more productive for you as an individual. Now, Mars's transit through Anuradha Nakshatra is obviously going to be colored by Saturn, because Saturn is the planet associated with Anuradha. And Saturn is in Purva Ashadha at the time of this transit. And so Saturn's going to be affected by Venus. And so there's a knock-on effect that's, kind of going through several different layers. In short, what this is all about is humility in accepting some of the things that you can't change. Now, what are those things that you can't change, right? Well, you can't change perhaps that where you're needing to take your life may differ from where someone else to whom you're somehow connected needs to take their life, right? And how each of you might be going through a process where you're looking at what worked for you individually in the past, and you're wanting to reconnect with that because that's something that you're feeling deep in your essence. It's something that you're exceptionally devoted to, and you really want to connect with that again. And it's a part of yourself that perhaps you've been ignoring or kind of hiding in the background for a long period of time, and you're recognizing that not being true to yourself in that particular capacity is something that's really kind of knocking your life for a friggin' loop. There we go. I said it. That's kind of what it feels like. And so you're going, you know what? This isn't working for me. And on a certain level, if it's not working for you, then how are you going to be able to be there for that other person? Right? And that's one of the things that you're really kind of having to take a look at, is the whole concept of really, in order to be somebody else's, best friend, or somebody who you can be a support there for somebody else, you've got to be a support for yourself. And if you're not getting the nourishment that you need from a specific situation, you can, do a couple of different things. You can either be steady and still with the particular situation that you're dealing with and dig deeper inside of yourself in order to find that nourishment, or you can move on to a different situation that you're going to find is a little bit more nourishing. And perhaps it's a combination of both of those things. But there's a certain level of being timid in association with this particular transit, because at its essence, Anuradha Nakshatra is a soft and friendly nakshatra. It wants to really, on a certain level, find win-win situations. But you know what? We can't always have win-win situations. And when you've got Mars transiting this particular nakshatra, one part of Mars, because Mars is a tamasic planet, one part of Mars is always going to see a problem. And that problem is that, on one level, you're wanting to be nice and gentle with this situation, but doing that doesn't create the tendency to be nice and gentle to yourself. And so when you have that, when you're not being nice and gentle to yourself, you get frustrated. And then in most instances, you're not going to be nice and gentle to the other person. And so sometimes in order to do the right thing for somebody else, we have to do on a certain level what may seemingly not be what they want. And sometimes it's more important to do what you want. And I don't mean that in a selfish manner. I mean, if you're going against something that's true to the essence of your soul, that's true to the essence of who you are, and to continue along the path that you're continuing on is going to mean that you're not connecting with yourself. You're just going to find yourself in a position where you're living a life that's half lived. And there's, over the course of the next couple of weeks leading up to the lunar eclipse, there's this deep process going on as both Venus and the Sun, who are traveling in close proximity to each other, transit through Ashadha Nakshatra and on into Dishonouring Nakshatra. And this process is going to take you into a journey that's going to kind of make you seek what it is that you're really wanting, what it is that you're really looking to connect to. And you may see different ideas. I like using something that came to me when I said that, different road signs along the way that go this way. And then you go that way and it doesn't really feel right. And so then you end up going another way, and you're searching and you're journeying, and you're going to learn something from that experience, which is going to take you to the place where you're having the recognition or the realization of what it is that you're truly needing to do. But during this particular transit leading up to the eclipse, I should say, you're also going to have a connection between Ketu, Venus, and the Sun. And on a certain level, that's going to create a humbling experience for you. But there's a very fine line between humbling and humiliating. And you don't need to self-humiliate. You don't need to self-humiliate. One part of you is feeling a little bit vulnerable because there's something that you need, most likely from another individual, and you're afraid of asking for it. And so then it causes you to kind of act in prideful manners in connection with them, when on a certain level you'd rather be acting with more tact and diplomacy, but you're having a hard time connecting to that sense of tact and diplomacy because you're recognizing a side of your life that used to be present there before, but which is no longer there before. And again, going back to that, it's something that you deeply want to connect with. And so you're not really sure if you can be tactful or if you can be diplomatic. And it's got you kind of feeling low and like you're not really being good, or like you're not being the best person that you can be. But then if you go too far in the other direction and go, well, I'm being too proud and I'm perhaps lashing out at this other individual. If you go too far in the other direction and go, right, well, I'm just going to really abnegate my responsibility to my own particular dharma and what I want, then you're not going to be being your best friend to yourself. So what can you do? What can you win? I mean, how can you win is what I mean to say. Well, can you win? Right? Well, what is winning? First of all, right? This isn't like a contest. And if there is a contest, who are you having a contest with? If you're having a contest, you're having a contest with yourself, and you're not going to win because you'll always end up being the loser, right? And you don't want to do that. You don't want to be the loser. If you're having a contest with somebody else, there is no winning, because what's right for both of you is right individually. So the best thing that you can do is to recognize that perhaps you're being a little bit vulnerable and it's causing you to act in a manner that is proud, and when you'd really rather exercise a greater deal of tact. But if you kind of are too soft and too gentle in your approach, then you're going to forget what it is that you're needing from this situation, and instead find the middle ground where you're being true to yourself and honest with the other person and speaking your mind. Even if you're a little bit timid in speaking your mind about the change that you want, how that change can be created between you two as independent individuals, and whether creating that change is something that's going to be constructive to the continued connection of that particular relationship, or whether it's something that that relationship is something that needs to move in more independent ways. Now, when I say things like this, it gets people's minds going, thinking that they're going to encounter a breakup and everything like that. I'm not saying that. If you're involved in an intimate relationship and this plays itself out in that area, it may take place in a completely different manner. It's just about being honest, having to talk about what it is that you need, having to talk about what it is that the other person needs. And when we're talking relationship, it's not just intimate relationships. It can be your connection with your boss, your interaction with your dog, your stuffed toy, anything at all, right? So it's about altering that relationship, understanding what you need, understanding what your partner needs, whatever that partner may be, right? Whether it's your boss, whether it's your best friend, understanding what the counterpart needs. In essence, there's no separation between all those different factors, right? That disgruntled person that you're connecting with, that's an aspect of yourself. Sure, they're an independent person, but you're, kind of connecting with them and perceiving them that way because of a disconnected aspect of yourself right now. So if you come into harmony with that disconnected aspect of yourself, sure, that individual may go their separate way, but then you're going to attract to yourself interactions, people, experiences that are more to your liking and fit with your situation. So I would say the overall hallmark, I should say, of this particular transit is one of not being so gentle, pardon me, to the extent that you're not being true to your own needs, and equally not being so aggressive to the extent that you're not honoring that gentle side of yourself. In short, you've got to find the proper balance. At the root of it, you've got to be true to yourself. It may mean facing struggle. It may mean facing some conflict. But when you come through that, you're going to be purified, whole, and strong. That's going to do it for this look at Mars's transit through Anuradha Nakshatra. If you'd like to know a little bit more about how this particular transit may impact you personally, please do feel free to visit the astrological services page of my website, where you can schedule a astrological service with me. That's going to do it. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.